And your source for esports racing is live. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Full Velocity Racing Network, live tonight at the Phoenix International Raceway. It is time for the second to last race of a Tuesday night Hobo Racing Cup Series presented by Voiles Trucking, and it comes to you live through Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitch TV. Hello, everybody. A crowded house indeed tonight. Phil Lacasse here, Jack Chewin, the birthday boy, on the controls. Blake McHales is here. We've even brought the Bobby with us. Bobby Farrell here with us as well. And Blake, we come down, I guess if you can call it a semi-final night here at Hobo. Well, we certainly have it. We got three drivers basically locked in. It's that drama around that playoff cup line. Guys like Jeff Fugate, Herman Reese, Steve Grant, Keith McLean. It's right there for them for the taking. When to get in, a lot to get to, but I am itching to get this one started.
We certainly are, Phil, and I think we're running short on time. Let's go ahead and kick it forward for the national anthem.
All right, back here live inside the Phoenix International Race. I was in South Beach in Miami. No, we're not there yet. Thinking warm. It's definitely not warm up here in the Northeast today. Definitely frozen to death. And Jax has some snow. I think Blake's doing all right. Bobby Farrell, we bring you into the show tonight. You've been watching there through the part of the Gent Nation, I guess, group over on YouTube. You wanted to come out here and play with us. Are you ready for the hijinks that comes here with Phoenix? I mean, this is a big debut for you.
Oh, I am ready. I am excited to be here. Different view for me up from the booth instead of sitting at home watching it on TV.
Well, it makes us feel good to have a guy like him here. A great field of cars on hand. Blake, let's take a shot at it. Voiles Trucking starting lineup for tonight.
Jordan McGregor will roll off. A 25.67 is the pole time for tonight. No surprises there with Keith McLean to his outside. Caleb Lingle, he'll start in third. KJ Kilojoules start in fourth. Ricky Johnson will round out the top five. And let's start trackside for the command.
Drivers, start your engines!
And there you have the command. Steve Grant starts sixth. Harry Codian, he's right on that cutoff. He's starting seventh. Jason San Diego rolls off eighth. Fugate will start in ninth, and then 10th will be Jeff Stacanis.
Herman Reese rolls off 11th of the 73. Maverick, number 23, rolls off 12th. With Ricky Bumbleow's number 85. Steve Rubino's number 21 rolls off 14th. Troy Donahue will start 15th. The number 20 of Rick Craddock, Randy Smith in the 10. The 77 is Kevin Roy, DJ Hinsky, and Danny Rubino's number 44 make up our top 20.
21st, Ron Simpson. 22nd, Duke Sorensen. 23rd, Brendan Spadafora. 24th, Ralph Pauly. 25th, Brett Carter. 26th will be Eddie Rayleigh. As we get to the cars that did not put up a qualifying time, Bob Gibson, Wiley King, Danny Hardy, Ryan Keller, and then Pushrod 17 along with Rich Napick.
Some really good cats back there not taking qualifying time. 100 laps around the Phoenix International Raceway, flat 1 mile. Jordan McGregor, a guy who has won a lot here recently over at Hobo. He has Keith McLean alongside iRacingGuyFlag.com. Green flag in the air. Let's go race it down, Blake, at turn one.
And Jordan McGregor looks like he'll be able to clear Keith McLean off of 1 and 2 through the old style dog leg and also the old style exit of 1 and 2. We saw a couple of cars have some trouble there on the exit of turn number 2, Jason San Diego being one of them. We have to remind ourselves, this is the older version of Phoenix. You think back to 2003, 2004 era, there's a little bit of a kick out in the wall on the exit of the second corner that makes it really difficult for these guys, as well as a dog leg that has grass, a rumble strip, so you definitely can't cut it like you would see at the more modern ISM Raceway. But Phil, we were talking about this pre-race. I love this version of this track, so this is just the way it ought to be.
Yeah, that's right. You like this place. Myself, I guess if there's a version of the racetrack I'd probably have run the best on, I guess this will probably be the one as well, but I'll tell you what, that kick out on that wall off the exit of 2, it has claimed my car more times than not. I've been spinning through that dog leg enough. It gets pretty narrow. We had a good side-by-side battle back there for the second spot. McLean and Caleb Lingle. Pretty good battle. Give it to McLean, Bobby, in turn number 3. How has your luck been over the years here at Phoenix? Not the easiest place to get around.
No, it's not at all, Phil. I probably had as good as luck as you have, and that exterior wall on the backstretch has definitely bit me a few times.
I tell you what, watching these cars through the opening lap is McGregor out to the race lead. Looks like Lingle going to fall into that second spot now over the McLean in second. Lingle back to third. KJ, Ricky Johnson, that's a veteran group up front. A lot of talent, a lot of fast, a lot of guys that work off a lot of the same setup. Now, open setup racing here, Blake, at Phoenix. You got to imagine, are these things all similar? Their fenders are flared up. Are these cars going to bite through the corners the way they should?
Well, I think you'll see a lot of variety in this field. This isn't exactly a place like Texas where you have a lot of banking. The cars that are going to handle well, they're going to showcase themselves really early on here and carry a lot of speed. And the guys that maybe miss on the setup, well, it's going to be glaringly obvious because these guys, you think about it, they're going through turns 3 and 4, and I was just riding along with a couple of these guys that last time through. They're still booking it around 135 miles per hour around a corner that does not have a lot of banking to it. To be exact, it only has 9 degrees of banking. So these guys going very fast. So don't be surprised to see this field kind of string itself out, because the guys that have fast cars like Denny Hamlin this past Sunday, they're really going to show themselves.
Who the heck is Denny Hamlin? People actually watch that stuff. I'm glad Blake is here. I'm glad Bobby is here, because you guys can probably educate me what goes on in that real world, as I feel like I'm here in this virtual world about 6 nights a week. So I'm glad to hear some things actually do still transfer over. But Phoenix, a place always been tough. I know open setups, Bobby, something I know you and I think all of us really not too adapt with. What would you do to a place like Phoenix to maybe make your car turn a little bit better, but not abuse a right front tire? Because I know I have killed a billion of those things over the years.
Well, I'd have to find a good crew chief for me to set up a car, because I don't know the first.
It's not Brendan, is it?
It might be Brendan the Gent.
All right. Well, we'll follow, because I guess he's a little crew chief as he's running back there in 19th. But we have a race for the lead, Blake, and it looks like a lead change. Keith McLean to that win to get in advanced scenario. 28 car out to the lead in turn 1.
Exactly what he wants to see. Jordan McGregor in his mirror, and he's getting it done through the center of 3 and 4. That's where that Haviland Mustang is really showcasing all the speed that he's brought to the racetrack tonight. So Keith McLean already taking the lead here on lap number 9 of 100. Still completely green in this thing, and I think McLean would like to see that as well.
I think it's going to stay that way, too. They are really all strung out, where you got about 0.3 of a second between McLean and McGregor, back to about a second and a half before you find the likes of Caleb Lingle, KJ Kilojoules, Ricky Johnson. But you look all the way back here to the likes of guys outside the top 10, Jason San Diego, Maverick, Ricky Bumbalo. Those are drivers well over 4.5 seconds off the pace, Bobby. They are strung out in a big way around here. Only 10 laps in. Is this a matter of, cars being off on setup, or is this is a place you really need to be strung out to make laps to feel your race car in?
I think it's just beginning of the race. Everybody's kind of getting spread out, get a feel for what they got, and have to make some adjustments on the pit stops to have a shot at the end.
That's something we'll pay attention over the course of the race. So I'm back here kind of as I normally would. I sit about mid-pack, see where some of this good racing goes on, as that top group is really starting to drive away. But you look back for about 13th on back, if you can believe, already 9 seconds off the race lead. You find the likes of back here, Ricky Bumbalo, Troy Donahue's back here, Randy Smith with very slim championship hopes to winning. They may be 10 seconds back, but they are driving Blake around here for about every bit they're worth. 12 laps in. Do you think these guys pay attention at all to the relative of how far out front the leaders are? Or is this racing your own race from here and not paying attention? If you fall a lap down this early, well, who cares? I got guys around me I have to race against.
Well, this early on, I think if you're a guy like Randy Smith who's on the outside looking in, and especially like you mentioned, 10.3 seconds back, now 11.2. The biggest thing is you got to look in front of him. He's got two cars battling side by side, and that's slowing him down. You really have to think about track position. If you're in a position like this, you're obviously not going to run to the front and take down Keith McLean all at once. So you just have to start thinking ahead about maybe getting a caution, getting a restart, trying to get good track position. And if I'm a guy like Randy Smith, maybe you don't have the speed for McLean. One thing I'm thinking about is how can I strategize to give myself the best chance possible?
I'm going to tell you what, for years I thought of this racetrack, I see Phoenix with 100 laps. My eyes open big, and I think I'm going to be in for a long night because if you're off a little bit, this place is miserable to race around. But looking at guys like McGregor, McLean, Lingle, those guys putting some pretty impressive lap times, it's almost starting to feel like 15 laps.
Oh, big trouble. Yeah, there's 5 or 6 cars sliding up against the outside retaining wall. Kevin Roy is involved, the 95 of Wiley King. Steve Rubino, heavy damage on his Chevrolet. Ralph Pauly is in it too. We were just talking about it, Phil. These guys all strung out, but still a big pack here in the back, and something went amiss. And there are a ton of cars scattered and sliding here through 3 and 4. We'll have to see where it all started.
Yeah, we certainly will. We'll put Jack Truitt on the controls here tonight. He'll man us along with a full velocity instant replay presented by BladeNode.com. Our first 10 of a record service caution flag of the night. And I know Jack's out there pushing the buttons, but we got to say it's a 23rd birthday for our buddy Jack here tonight. So glad he's spending his birthday out with us and letting you guys out there to watch. I know if it wasn't for him out there tonight, well, I don't think this show would be possible because so a lot of times he says we make it rock and he makes it roll, but I'll tell you what, we don't rock or roll if it's not for his contributions. And he does it better than anybody else out there. But we'll show this through a BladeNode.com full velocity instant replay. It's just exactly how Blake called it. Kevin Roy's car, Wiley King, they get together. Paulie, 61, takes a shot. Oh, Steve Rubino, nowhere to go with 21. He takes a hit as well. If there's a guy who can't buy a break here recently to Bobby, I'll tell you what, I know you've watched a lot. Do you ever feel like you get a black cow curse over you right now? Because Steve Rubino, even when he's not near traffic, a wreck almost seems to find him.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I've watched this on TV a lot, and I always hear his name, and not for the better, unfortunately.
Steve all tore up. He'll come down pit road, have to get the 21 car kind of repaired. And we got 2 cars, looks like, already behind the wall. The 77 of Kevin Roy, Rob Keller, and the number 57. Those 2 behind the wall. 30 cars left on the racetrack, and pit road is essentially a pretty busy place as you would expect it to be early. It looks like everybody has come down, with the exception, I believe, somebody like a Herman Reese, I think, who may have played a little bit of strategy. I don't think he came to pit road. I think everybody else, Blake, they're all in for at least 2, maybe 4 times.
And that's a really interesting call for Herman Reese because we've seen a lot of times at the beginning of these races that you have a couple of cautions back-to-back, but we had a 17-lap run. That's definitely going to put some wear on those tires. So not sure if Randy Smith is maybe thinking ahead. Actually, we're following along with him right now. He's going to come down pit road this time around, and he's giving up a lot of track position in doing so. So if I'm him, I'm thinking the only way the only reason you would make a move like this is because you want as much fuel in that race car as possible. Can we see these guys maybe come back around? And I think that's what Herman Reese has to be thinking, because there's no use in giving up probably 10 or so spots that he's going to give up making this move unless he thinks there's some benefit of it.
Well, I'll tell you what, he came down pit road the second time by, and it also brings him to that whole thing. Well, I guess it's been kind of coined here recently, the lady lap. You go out there, you lead a lap all by yourself. Herman Reese on that cut line coming in tonight, him and Jeff Fugate within 27 points of that 4th and final spot in the standings. Well, Herman Reese has picked up 5 bonus points for leading a lap, so what we thought may have been some strategy as far as staying out there for track position, he wanted those 5 points. I think we've all kind of won championships at some point over the years. Those 5 points, Bobby, go a long way. You grab anytime you can.
That is correct, Phil. I mean, bonus points go a long way, especially for a championship when somebody's running for a championship.
Absolutely. I'm glad we got Bobby here tonight. He kind of gives us that real authentic effect right now as Bobby and myself, guys who follow this community. Well, I guess it takes super speedways for us to be competitive because I guess it's the only thing we're really good at winning. But we class it up. We get guys like Blake who come out there night after night. Doesn't matter what racetrack we go to, and always seems to go fast. And I look at this pit road alignment, Blake, at this old version. I see Jordan McGregor. He set quick time. He had that first pit stall. I see him come in. I see guys like Caleb Lingle who come in that started a little bit further back. Even Keith McLean. That first pit stall paid off big dividends. Jordan McGregor clean in, clean out. First car from pit road versus a guy like KJ's 29. He had to check up because he was blocked in a little bit by teammate up ahead. It's tight quarters out here in this old pit road.
Oh, no doubt. With how long and and how flat this corner is in turns 1 and 2, that first pit stall pays dividends, and I think you saw it right there. Jordan McGregor entered behind Keith McLean, obviously, back there in the second position. He's able to take the lead, and that's one thing if you're McGregor that you really have to look forward to. You can be second or third on a run, and if you do catch that yellow, well, it's not really going to hurt you because you might be restarting up front just like you are right now.
Absolutely. If we get ready to go back, I believe we got lights out around the so here we have ThatRacingGuyFlag.com. Green flag back in the air. 20 laps at 130. 1/5 away home at 20 laps of buying a breeze. We get on the green flag run in with a single file restart. That's really not impossible. Jordan McGregor, KJ, Keith McLean, Ricky Johnson, Caleb Lingle. That's our top 5. They're single file, Bobby, over to turn 3.
Yes, they are.
I love it. Get you on the fly. I'm glad he's coming. I brought Bobby along tonight for that insight that we kind of can't get. I get the brilliance of Blake. I get the realness of guys who try hard from Bobby. And that's a perfect call right there. But we look over to turn down the cake over to turn number 3. McGregor leads. KJ's right there, 2 car lengths back. And those 2 guys up front not racing for a championship. Do you think they're looking in the mirror, seeing that 28 car behind, knowing that Keith is, and maybe cut him a break if the racing gets close here, Blake, later on in this race?
We'll just have to see how it plays out. Obviously, no matter what racing league you're in over the last week or so, most leagues have some type of format, some type of championship that resembles this format, and that's one question you always have to ask yourself: are these guys going to run each other as hard as possible, race for every position, as if there is no playoff implications, or are these guys going to let guys go? And I think we see it right there. KJ Kilojoules recognized that 28 car is setting a blistering pace. He lets him by and allows him to go up into that second position. You also have to throw Ricky Johnson into that mix. He's another guy not battling for points, and he's running up in the top 5.
He sure is. 193 doing a good job. All those guys kind of have some kind of working relationship, so you can see it right there. KJ pulled right over. Almost looked like a Gibbs move out there, letting that old 28 can you call it Gibbs out there with Fords on those things? I don't know, but the blue oval right there, that 28 car sitting in second. Jordan McGregor is going to lead as he walks up the corner off a 2. Car looks
trouble in turns 1 and 2.
Trouble.
Hicksey is around after contact with Rich Craddock. Looks like Ricky Bumbleow going to slide in just a little bit and make contact with the outside retaining wall. I was riding along with Craddock and Hicksey, who at that very moment they were battling for what looked like, let's see, the 13th position. Craddock got in a little hot on the bottom, and there's just not a lot of grip, not a lot of banking in this racetrack. He doors the side of the 14, and that just sends him around, and unfortunately, Ricky Bumbleow was behind that accident. He saw it occur, was trying to slow down. It upset the handling on that race car, and off he went into turns 1 and 2.
It's one of those things with this joint. You got to try to get these cars into the corner. You can drive it in a little bit deeper like Rick did, or like DJ, let it float into the corner up high like that. You meet in the middle. I think we've been on the wrong end of right into that a couple of times there, Bobby, over the years. No, we've wrecked each other. If there's a wreck at Phoenix that looks like something you and I have done 100 times, it's that one right there. I mean, is either party really at fault with that one? That's short track racing at Phoenix, is it not?
Yeah, I think it's just good hard racing at Phoenix. Like you said, we've been in the middle of that situation more times than I can remember. it's the same thing every time. One guy goes in a little hot, one guy's trying to take it easy, and you just kind of have a fender.
a fender, a door, whatever. We've thrown each other out of the way more than we know, and that's why we're going to have fun with this show here tonight, and I'm glad Blake was able to get back here. I know he was pretty busy this evening as well. Had ample opportunity to go out there and probably cause some trouble or claim checkered flags, but Blake is able to come out here and do what I say he does the absolute best. This guy's got a world of talent with a mic in his hand, and really glad that he's out here part of the Full Velocity team as well tonight as we look under the yellow. These guys just came in a few laps ago. It's the polar opposite this last 15-lap run, Blake. They only put about 3 or 4 laps on. There is nobody up front coming down pit road, so track position is key, but if you put 10 to 15 laps in a cycle, I got to think it looks like tires may start giving up. So right now, 3 or 4 laps, stay away from pit road, keep that track position.
Well, I'll tell you what, the guys that are in the back of this field, guys like Herman Reese, guys that are on the outside looking in, particularly in this playoff format, if you see this up front, you're already in a bad position, you should come down and pit, try to flip something, try to do the opposite of what these leaders are trying to do. Obviously, McGregor, it looked like he wanted to come down pit road, but he looked in his mirror and saw that there wasn't a great following behind him, so he ended up at the last minute almost hitting the pit road wall, making an evasive maneuver to get back on the track and retain the lead. But you do have a fair amount of cars that elected to come down pit road, so this is one of those situations where if we can get these long green flag runs, you're going to see kind of a split in this field in strategy.
We're going to wait and see. There's a lot of different plays. We're going to have 27 laps in, so 1/4 of the way home. You got to think that they've all come in now. You know who's going to be the comers and goers. You know if your car is fast. And at this point, if your car a little off, and maybe even a guy like a Danny Hardy trying to make his way through traffic, or even a guy like, say, Rich Napick who started in the back, maybe even guys like Brendan the Gent back there, Bobby, net number 37, you think they felt out their race cars? Minor adjust at this point, 25 laps, and you think? Or are you throwing something wholesale at it?
Well, I think some of the guys in the back should be doing wholesale adjustments, but they might be doing some adjustments, or some of them might not be adjusting at all, depending on, might not have gotten a long enough run for them.
Well, we'll wait and see. That's why they'll stay at the back. If they don't adjust, they'll throw a wholesale adjustment. They'll be more as out to lunch as I normally am, and that's why Blake's here. Because Blake's going to be the guy who's going to say, you guys are dumb. I'm going to make no adjustment. My car's okay. If it's a little bit off, I'm going to let the track come to me. We'll pass all these cars. We'll go right back to the front. And that's what we'll set our cameras toward as we get ready to go back to racing here in Phoenix. Jordan McGregor, Keith McLean, Keela Jules, Ricky Johnson, Caleb Lingle. It's been a pretty static top 5. You look back here from 6th on back. Harry Cody in off that big win a week ago. Put himself into that Final 4 at Homestead. He's going to feel all that pressure off tonight. Then you look at the guys like Jeff Stakanis behind. Steve Grant, Jeff Fugate, a couple of championship contenders. They make up the balance of the top 10. A lot of racing left to go here tonight in Phoenix, Blake, as we're lap 28 in. I believe this time by, we should be seeing green flag racing back over the air as announcer's curse, Phil. Hit the live button. Pace car isn't he?
Pace car is complying with you, Phil, as the iRacingIFlag.com green flag is in the air, shown to Jordan McGregor as he'll dive it down into turn number 1 with McLean, KJ Kilojoules, Ricky Johnson, and Caleb Lingle all in tow. Single file restarts here at Hobo Racing League, so going to be kind of rare to see 2-file racing, especially as we head down into 1 and 2, but unfortunately it looks like the caution is out as something went amiss here early on in 1 and 2, and looks like we're going to have to rack them up and try it again.
We certainly will. Yellow flag on the racetrack. We'll see if we can't kind of find where this came from and give Jack a heads up here with the BladeNote.com full velocity instant replay and see if there was actually a little bit of something that may have brought the yellow hanky back onto the field. Definitely cars around over off the exit of turn number 2, and who could it have been, as I was kind of back there mid-pack, and it was even further behind where I was. So, looks like guys got into 1 and 2 a little bit hot. Somebody got into the back end. I think it was a 17 of Bob Becker, the push rod there. I think was it Eddie Rayleigh's number 112 in a round. Oh man, there's a lot going on there. Somebody misjudged the corner.
I think that we can at least say that is an understatement, Phil. I don't even know if the brakes went out on that on Pushrod's car, because man, he sent it into one. Obviously, a lot of checking up as they're single file and guys in the middle of pack sliding around. Everybody just trying to get through, and either I guess pushrod, he just kind of wheel hopped it, and he got in too deep to where you kind of wheel hop, you spin the back end around. There's really nothing you can do to slow it down. But man, that Army car really took a pounding right there.
Oh man, the Army may need a whole lot more than the Army to fix that thing. Back end is all tore up. Went for the heck of a ride there, and I don't know if pushrod got late on the brakes, so the brakes went out. Do these cars actually have brake pedals that work, Bobby? Is that such a thing?
It would be if the driver knew how to put your foot down sometimes. I mean,
Whoa.
you got some drivers that, yeah, and I don't know these guys very well, but you do have some drivers that forget that they do have a brake pedal in these cars.
I don't know. Well, I think I'm on the opposite end of that. I think I'm too hesitant on my brake pedal and not hard enough on the gas to go fast, because I know I watch a lot of these races. I call a lot of these races, but I know if I was in them, I'd probably be back there, probably about where Bumble is, or Eddie back there with a tore-up car. I look up here and I see McGregor and McLean and KJ, and I dream about what the air would be like here at Phoenix to be up front, about 1/3 the way home, 32 laps in. How much brake do you use here at a place like this, Blake? I know you're really good at this track. You've been really good at these short tracks, these flat ones. They suit your driving style. Are you on the brakes hard at a joint like this at all to make your car keep going fast?
Well, Phil, usually what I would do at a track like this, and I guess it's what people would call trail braking. You're just kind of riding the brake a little bit. You don't push it all at once too hard, and you just do it a little bit on entry. You'd be surprised at how much you really don't need to hit the brakes that hard. Obviously, a flat track, so you kind of trail brake it in, maybe in 3 and 4, depending on what type of setup you have. Just kind of let the throttle hang, or just kind of be off the throttle and the brake for a second, maybe blurp the throttle a couple of times to get the car to where it'll turn. And then obviously it just depends on, when you hit exit, obviously you want to kind of drift all the way out to that wall with how little banking there is. You don't want to use that right front tire up too much by turning the car too hard, so want to drift all the way up on exit. But 1 and 2, you kind of take the same entry. I think it's just kind of a trail braking thing. So you'll go in the corner, kind of arc it a little bit, and then just give it a little bit of brake, and then mostly by the center of the corner, you're mostly out of the brakes.
I'm glad you put that there. I'm going to try it. I once upon a time knew how to go fast here. I don't know what if I just lost my nerve, whatever it was, but we're going to try that someday again. As I've been called out here recently, they want a guy who knew how to compete at a place like this and go out there and race for wins again. So maybe I'll take a stab at a little of that this winter. Maybe attempt to get better. Hashtag still learning, maybe. Not exactly sure, but the field, it looks like over in turn number 3, and I believe the lights are out around the speedway, so we should be going back to racing this time. 33 laps on the board. McGregor, McLean, Julius, Johnson, Lingle, as we've been the top 5 most of the evening as we work our way to the west end of the racetrack as the sun is setting over here in this duel in the desert. The Phoenix International Raceway, the Full Velocity Racing Network Chevrolet Corvette pace car pulls its way on into pit road. What do you say we put that iRacingIFlag.com green flag back in the air? Jordan McGregor stomps down, loud pedal down. He will lead the field, Blake, at turn 1.
Late restart zone here at Phoenix. It keeps the speeds low as we head down into turns 1 and 2. McGregor still pacing this field. These guys a little bit loose, though. Cold tires after pacing around a couple of laps. We'll see if these guys can make it through this top 5 sliding around, but so far, so good.
I'm watching them through 1 and 2, and I'm telling you what, you want to watch some guys really gingerly walking cold tires. They did a great job, and I saw somebody kind of goose it there in the middle of 1 and 2, almost put the right rear off that opening in the wall. Not a good thing. You forget how treacherous that opening used to be over the years. Probably why they got rid of it, but it's always nice to go back in time, Bobby. Relive what that wall was like. You pull those right rear tires out far enough off that corner or two, you may draw yourself into more chaos than you know, as we got another yellow on the speedway.
Yellow flag out on the speedway, and I believe it's because of an accident here on the back straightaway. Looks like, I believe it was the Gas Monkey Chevrolet, the 85 car of Ricky Bumbleow, who I think he hurt you a little bit, Phil. He was trying to make sure he didn't hit the exit or hit that wall on the exit of corner number 2. He gets a little bit loose, center of the corner, hits the apron, trying to collect it. Eddie Rayleigh, nowhere for him to go. He punts that 85 around, and that's just going to bring out another yellow flag right there. Nothing that U.S. Army Chevrolet could do to avoid that incident. We have Hinsky, who very, very big damage on that race car. He gets tagged a little bit in that one. Don't know if that damaged the nose, but once again, this just shows you how difficult this track can be, especially on cold tires.
Sure can. As we saw 17 laps early of all green flag racing, we're now slowed. Third yellow flag of the night, 36 laps in Phoenix. It'll give us a minute to take a break and pause and reset. Follow all the stories here in Phoenix. We'll be right back live with the call on your source for esports racing. All right, back here live inside the Phoenix International Raceway on what I guess Larry said, 100 laps of lemons here tonight in Phoenix. Lemons sound really good with some kind of soft drink right now. So whoever's out there passing around over there through Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitch TV, I'll take a couple. Sounds really good. What also sounds good, Blake, is we looked out on pit road, and we've got a couple of different scenarios being played. A lot of guys came down pit road. A lot of those that are running up front. This top 10 is really jumbled.
Oh, it certainly is. Guys like McLean, KJ, Ricky Johnson, Stacanus, Fugate, Bumbalo, Craddock, Smith, all trying to shake things up here on strategy. We'll see how it works out for them.
All right, iRacingGuyFlag.com. Green flag goes back to the air. 39 laps in the books. And we look at the top three, McGregor, Lingo, Cody, and those guys have been stable up in the top five all night long. And now you look guys like Steve Grant and Jason San Diego, Herman Reese. How about the old gent, Brendan Spadafora, restarting 7th of 37? I know we've been on the opposite end of us a couple of times, and I see Brendan out there, a guy that's dying to have a good run. He's had a lot of good cars recently. Maybe not to finish the show for it. He's trying something a little bit different, Bobby. Out there, using some track position, a little bit older tires, hoping to stay out of the way. You look in the mirror, you know those fast cars are coming. What are you thinking out there for Brendan right now?
Well, as you know, I like seeing them up front like this, but, I'd be thinking about for a caution, trying to get a couple quick cautions, get a couple pit stops in, and that track position might pay off for him.
All right, now, you hope his thumb don't fall asleep. That's exactly right, because we know that's a crippling situation now. You don't want a thumb falling asleep in a race. Now I look back to guys like Keith McLean, Blake, who are racing for a championship. He came in, he put 4 fresh tires on. He may be having a drive through a pack of a couple of cars that maybe not being, superior handling-wise. How's he feeling going to start driving back in the top 10? I guess we'll have to take a period on that for now, because we have a yellow back on the speedway. Yellows breed yellow. I think this is, 4 or 5 on lap number 44 now. That 17-lap green flag run to open the race, I guess it's a long history now.
It certainly is, Phil, and it's a shame because we started out this race, we really got strung out. You really got to see who has the best cars tonight and who was struggling a little bit with their setup or maybe with the driving style that it takes here to
said, he goes, what are you thinking, Bobby? I was like, well, if I'm...
That was a wrong button right there, but hey, that's okay. We love Bobby. He's going to make a mistake out here. I think if he's hitting a whisper button or I don't know if I went on air or went on over there, but I did hear him probably talking to Brendan. Looks like an 85 for Ricky Bumbelow. I think he gets the old TDR selfie stick out there for this one tonight. Full velocity selfie stick, TDR racing selfie stick, whatever you want to call it. Ricky Bumbelow around in turns number 1 and 2. He wanted a little bit more TV time with the Gas Monkey. Ricky Bumbelow, hey, we're talking about you, dude. Probably not the way he wants to be talked about, though.
No, certainly not, Phil. I think that was just a little bit of a case of the car getting loose once again. Unfortunately, Bumbelow, he's been involved in several accidents tonight, so just not been the trek out to the desert that he envisioned when starting tonight. And I think this league is kind of expecting the same because of how well they started this race already now on lap 44, and we just haven't really gotten a lot of green flag racing as of late. But certainly can change. We know these guys were capable of doing it earlier. Just have to get these couple of laps through. It's just really difficult when you got guys that are in the middle of the pack. They want to get to the front as quickly as possible. They know they have a quick car. It's mainly the guys that came down pit road this last time by. You have to think they know they have a lot of speed in their car, so they're going to try to make moves as quickly as possible with all these cautions because you just never know when it's going to come out.
You really don't. In a night like this where, we seemed like we got the rhythm early. I know we felt like we were in it. 17 laps went by in a blink of an eye, and now you've run the last, 20, 25 laps behind the pace car, really in a slow crawl. You bring the average speed of the race now below 83 miles per hour, so it's a makes for a slow night here in Phoenix. And this kind of makes me feel like, and that's why I pucker when I see 100 laps here, because I've bet on this end of nights here where they slow down really, a lot through the middle versus that, little burst of green flag laps they got early. Is 100 laps at Phoenix, Bobby, is ominous feeling to you as a driver it is to myself. I see it and I go, oh my God, how am I ever going to get through this in one piece?
Well, 100 laps isn't bad at Phoenix, but then when you add all these cautions into it, and it does kind of slow the pace of the race down and kind of takes your mentality out of it a little bit as well.
It certainly does. And we roll around back into the yellow, looking down up and down pit road here, and I don't see too much shaking. I believe we did see a couple of cars maybe come down or back there in the top 10. I saw Harry Codiandis come on down. I saw Brett Carter down there. Danny Rubino's 44 was on pit road, so I was expecting more in that little group that was up there, Blake, about 4th through 10th. I seen the 13 pit out of that group, but you look for guys like the 22 car of San Diego, Herman Reese up there, Rich Napick, who started the back, now up the top 10. They have used a little bit of this, off sequence. That's not a bad time to try here. Almost approaching halfway at Phoenix, a lot of yellow flag laps. You got to imagine maybe another cycle or two before, all those guys who came in late, before those tires kind of cycle back out to equal temperature.
Yeah, probably 1 or 2 more if we get some of these quick yellows. It'll probably be about an even call with some of the guys that stayed out front. You have to imagine guys like KJ or McLean will be up in the top 5 very soon, and if we can get about probably 5 or 6 laps of green flag racing, that might be all it takes. But the one thing we have to look forward to, though, I was looking at the fuel window. I pulled my car on pit road and immediately pulled it off to get a check on it. Said anywhere from 42 to 45 laps is what these guys can go on a tank of fuel. And with all these cautions, you never know. If you came down this last time by, maybe you get another yellow or 2, you might be able to make it to the end.
You can. You can save a lot under these yellow flags here at this flat racetrack in Phoenix. So maybe, just maybe, can something happen? It looks like this time off turn number 4. Pace car returns to the safety of pit road. We go back to green flag racing, lap number 46. It's going to be Jordan McGregor. Single file restart, Blake. He will lead the field in turn number 1 and 2. Is this the money time that we put another 10 to 15 laps of a green flag run together? I'm hoping so.
I don't know, Phil. Look at how big the gap is from 7th on back. Something happened, I think, with Rich Napick at the front. May have to go back and take a look at that at some point, maybe during this next yellow flag, because there's about 3 seconds between 6th and 7th. 1 lap after a restart, maybe somebody didn't get going, somebody misshifted, somebody lost a gear, something happened. So if you're the guy in the back of this pack, you really hope there's a yellow flag now, because there is such a huge gap a lot of the time for guys like McLean and Johnson who hope to use those fresh tires to get back up to the front. That's almost all gone now.
It certainly is. And there was a mistake up in that little group there. Napick was a good call. He actually did make a mistake in 3 and 4, but it started with the Gent in a 37, Bobby. He got really close to the opening off of 2. I think it was close enough to scare him, because Brendan really checked up and allowed a lot of cars to go by, but they did lose a lot of time.
Yeah, it looked to me, I was watching a quick replay of it on my end, and it kind of looked like he might have missed a shift there on the restart.
And I guess that's possible, too. You miss a shift. I mean, well, I do. I give you guys credit, because those restrictor plates, they usually carry about 7,000 RPMs to shift them. So maybe he fell asleep on that. I don't know. We'll pick on Brendan. We love Brendan. No Jet Nation is out there as usual through Facebook Live and, of course, on YouTube, Twitch TV. A lot of the familiar names to see checking in. I see Bill Burns checking in out there in the YouTube chat. Really cool to see new names out there. Bill, thanks for stopping in, enjoying the night with us. As now we approach halfway, 50 laps on the board. Jordan McGregor leads over Caleb Lingle. How about that Dodge number 22? Jason San Diego, Blake, he is stuck into this mix with a little bit of track position play. 22 looks pretty sporty as he runs third over in turn 1.
He certainly does. We were talking about him earlier. He had found the outside wall off the exit of 2 a couple of times, but he's certainly done a nice job mending that damage and working his way up here to the front. And he looks like he can hang with the big dogs. We've seen this a couple of times out of San Diego, that he'll start a little bit further back in the pack, doesn't necessarily have qualifying speed, and I'm one that can understand that. I pretty much outrace anything, just not a very good qualifier, and I think San Diego is in the same boat, because he's running lap times that are right in line with what the leaders are running. He was actually 0.3 quicker than Jordan McGregor that last time by, so San Diego is definitely trending upward.
It really is. That 22 car is digging, as is a 73, the Cadillac of Herman Reese. He has crept his way now up to the 4th spot. That's a guy right on that cut line. Him and Jeff Fugate, 27 points separate the two between a date between themselves, and one of them racing for a championship next week in Homestead. And I know, Bobby, you have raced Herman a lot over the years. I have as well. We don't go back with him a long time. If there's a guy who quietly can make his way into the picture, and he's done so in the second half of this run, a guy who may not make a lot of noise, but is going to be heavy on that right pedal and knowing the way to race for a championship. Do you look too much further than that Cadillac number 73?
I wouldn't think so, Phil. I mean, he's the kind of driver that starts out, kind of back in the pack a little bit, but then he's right there at the end of the race.
Smooth, consistent, and about as cool as a customer you can find aboard that number 73 car now up to the 4th spot. Clean air for Jordan McGregor. So far, so good. He's over at turn number 3. He's got a half a car length, or half a second lead, I should say, over Caleb Lingle, and looks to be really stable. Looks like he's not hustling the car through the middle of the corner. Looks to be rolling rather nice. And there's a car that looks like a dream to ride here, that 15, Blake. That thing looks to be just beautiful right now up front.
It certainly does look beautiful, Phil, but one guy I'm going to mention that probably wants to be a little bit further up right now, and a guy we haven't talked a lot about tonight is Fugate in that number 9 Sundrop Dodge Challenger, running right now in the 11th position. He is the cutoff. He is above it right now, or at least entering this race he was, but obviously running back in the 11th position, and you have to think he's playing the points game right now. He wants to maximize everything he can get, but just seems like that car probably not exactly where he wants it tonight, so we're going to have to keep an eye out on him, because he's a guy that if he can move a couple more positions up into the top 10 and maybe even into the top 5, he might be in a position to advance and race for a championship at Homestead, but right now in a pretty precarious position. He's not exactly in the back of the pack or out of this race, but you have to start wondering when he's running around that 11th spot with how the guys around him are running. Might start to be a little nervous behind the wheel there.
You may think so, and Herman Reese is starting to fall back now through the field. There's Jeff Fugate starting to trend upward there, running 11th at the 73 of Reese has dropped a spot. Keith McLean has come around. KJ Kilojoules is right there as well. 27 points separate the two, and now this new NASCAR point system, 27 spots on the racetrack. That's usually about 27 points nowadays. That seems like a lot. But, Bobby, you go back in time to the old NASCAR-style point system with the 5 and the 4 and the 3, the way they broke down. 27 points in this old scenario. That's not a whole lot of spots on the racetrack now, is it?
Not at all.
Not at all, and the math I do, now I got Herman back to the 6th spot as KJ's work his way around, so if I go back in time and think about it, and I did this a long time ago, I pushed, race cars on a rug for years. True story. I used to do points, everything. I think 5th and 6th was about 150 points, call it. I look back to Fugate, 11th, I believe that was about 130, so give or take about 20 to 25 points, 27 the cut. Fugate right now is going to be looking. Reese is going to be looking at it. You can't get much closer than that. There was so much drama, Blake, to play off. 40 laps around Phoenix. It's not long at all. So much can happen. That is a cool little race to watch.
It certainly is
a race.
It certainly is. And the thing is, I've been running with Fugate for a couple of laps, and you might think, the pressure starts to get to him. He realizes the situation, but I've been riding alongside the Sundrop Dodge, and you have to think that the driver is as cool as his paint scheme, because right now just biding his time, not pushing the issue, saving his tires a little bit, and not overdriving the corner right now, obviously thinking that this race will come to him. So you'd think, well, I'm right on the cut line, I might be in, I might be out. Fugate just cool as a cucumber, probably drinking a Sundrop right now thinking about it.
That Sundrop sounds about as good as a cheer wine right now. I tell you what, a little bit thirsty. I have to go run to the fridge here a little bit, see what I can't dig up, but we'll figure it out. But I see a race starting to develop for the lead. Now, we talked about those guys really close to the points, but let's look at a guy like Keith McLean. He has to win tonight if he wants to race in the Final Four next week at Homestead. He currently runs second, has chased down Jordan McGregor. At what point Blake does a 28 begin to start overdriving or driving that car for all it's worth, knowing that, hey, I need to win? Is 63 laps in too early to be thinking about it?
Well, he took the lead at the stripe, and he's going to clear McGregor into one. But if there's one thing McLean has not been doing, it has been holding back. He has been all out these last several laps. You have to think he restarted in about the 11th position with that huge gap that ended up happening off of the restart, and McLean just drove right to the front. Oh, he gets spun! The lap car gets in the way. Trouble here for the leader, Keith McLean. McGregor is in it as well. Big trouble here, the low side of turn 4. Keith McLean might be out of this thing. Heavy damage on the backside of that Javelin Ford, and you saw it on your screen right there. Takes the lead, and that lap gets caught up behind Ralph Pauly, the lap car. And it looks like it was just an accordion effect there in 3 and 4. McGregor, heavy nose damage on that 15 car. I believe he may be out of this thing, but drama and implications, no shortage of that here at Phoenixville.
We pulled drama and implications out. That's when you know it's a big-time deal tonight. And, God, you hate it for Keith McLean. You hate it for Jordan McGregor. I hate it for Ralph Pauly as well, as 61. I've been in that situation before where the leaders are coming. My car is a little bit off. Maybe something broke. You try to do the best you can to get out of the way. Did Ralph do any? He was stuck on the low side. I don't really think, Bobby, he did anything wrong, just trying to go out of the way. I just don't think that Keith thought he was going up on him as fast as he did.
Yeah, it might have been a miscommunication there, because it looked to me like McLean thought he might have, that lap car might have gone the outside, and he just kind of held his line, maybe expecting the leaders to go the outside.
Man, I've been on the wrong end of this. I know we've all been on the right or wrong end of the situation many times, but under yellow once again, 66 laps in. We got that 28 car down on pit road. Blake, heavy rear end damage. I don't think it took a too big shot to a nose, so I don't think it's going to aerodynamically be too bad, but that damage to the rear, it's going to affect how that car gets through corner exit. man, did Keith McLean's night just go upside down? Can he recover from a wreck like this? Look at all that track position he just lost.
Well, Phil, if there's one guy that's capable of rebounding, it may be that car damaged. It might be, but you have to remember that car had so much speed, drove from the back to the front in just a handful of laps. So if there's one guy that can get it done, it is Keith McLean. And I'll talk about that situation with McLean a little bit. You see a lap car, and I mean, the closing rate was insane. And if you're a guy like McLean, there's really two ways you can approach a lap car if you're the leader and you're really looking to just try and get everything out of it you can. You have to do one of two things. Well, I see he's high. I'll give him a little bit of space and make sure I get around him. Or you can take a risk and hope that by the time you get to them, they're not going to affect your racing line. Keith McLean had plenty of time to look at him. He took the risk thinking that Paulie wouldn't be in the way. And unfortunately, he just guessed wrong. Paulie, he's trying to do the right thing. He's trying to stay on the low side and let the leaders go around the outside of him on the front straightaway. Obviously, if you're a guy battling for a championship, that's what you want. But with the combination of Paulie slowing up there on the exit of the corner and McLean just taking that gamble that Paulie would get out of the way, he was wrong about it. And obviously came to about a 30-mile-per-hour stop in a tenth of a second. And unfortunately, McGregor just couldn't react to it, and neither could KJ. So really unfortunate circumstances there, but I think it's too early to count out that 28 Ford just yet.
I will have to wait and see here, but I tell you what, Blake, that was terrific insight right there. And I was going to say, it kind of feels like about 2 months ago, we were pretty much on a similar end of that. I think you were the second car in line, running in third. There was a slow car up in front of the race leader that was, I think the leader was like a number 6. We won't give names out there, and I think it was a slow car in front of him. I think that was me. And I was the 61 car basically right there. You hate it when you're Ralph because there's not really much you can do with that rate. You feel bad for the leader you took out, the guys behind that piled in. Sometimes, Bobby, you come to a race that's tight like this. Racing just happens. Sometimes even the slow guys like us, we just can't even figure out the right way to get out of the way.
That is true. I've been on the wrong end of that a few times, and you want to do the best for the leaders to get out of the way without hurting yourself as well. But then sometimes you guess wrong, and accidents like that happen.
Roval flashback right there, Blake, isn't it?
Kind of, but I don't want to lose McLean's part in this really because, you can say, oh, well, the lap car should be out of the way. That's all his fault. It is a risk worth taking. I've taken that risk before where maybe you try to clear a car too early thinking that they'll just give you the spot. It doesn't work out. So I'd say, at least from my perspective, both kind of at fault there, but we'll have to talk about that after the race. Right now we're on lap 69, and Caleb Lingle, Ricky Johnson leads us to green.
Sure does. Caleb Lingle, Ricky Johnson, KJ Kilojoules, Jason San Diego, Herman Reeks now making up the balance of a top 5 as we work our way down through the kink in turn number 2, down the back straightaway to 3 and 4, 69 laps on the board. You got to think all these guys have basically come to pit road. I would have to think if you can make the fuel window from here. I'll ask you this question, Bobby. I know I kill tires here. You do it pretty good as well. You know you can make it on fuel. Are we driving our cars any differently knowing that, hey, we got to make it to the finish right now?
I think some guys will still try and take it easy and save those tires for the end of the race, but then you're probably going to have some guys that are going to still run hard and eat up that right front, and then, probably going to have to make another pit stop here towards the end of the race.
Yep, that would be me. I'll tell you what, I could try to go out there and try to save, and I'll probably kill it even quicker. We'll have to see what happens over those closing 30 laps. I'm back here watching the 28 try to come back to the field. I'm up here monitoring the progress of a 9 to Jeff Fugate as Blake has been watching. He's up now in the top 10. Herman Reeks running to the 5th spot, so points really coming into play. You got also guys like Steve Grant, Randy Smith. Those two drivers also find themselves in that win to get into next week's scenario. They're running inside the top 10. What can those guys do from here to make something happen to maybe put themselves in potentially into victory lane?
Well, it's going to have to come with a little bit of strategy as the yellow flag displayed here, and I think part of it involves the gent here. It was actually Harry Codian, and actually, no, I don't think the gent, there was a little bit of contact, but I think something went amiss on that 13 car. It looked like he just stopped or misshifted or something went amiss on that 13 car because there was smoke coming out of it. So not sure if he went into the corner and just blew up or what happened there. There wasn't a lot of contact to really initiate that type of damage. But nevertheless, Harry Codian, we were just talking about him, obviously was, a guy that needed to do well, and this is going to put a real damper on his playoff hopes. Just about does him in.
Sure does. And, well, I don't think it's going to do him in. I believe Harry, with the win last week, is going to race at Homestead. But whatever happened right there was definitely peculiar because it happened right in the middle of the kink in the back straightaway. And I don't know if there was contact between him and the 37, but, well, maybe there was a little bit right there. But it feels like the car almost just, off the motor blew up because it really took a little bit of those D to high nose. It moved. And there was definitely a hit, but was there something going on under the hood that may have set that thing off to the right the way it was?
I think it was probably something under the hood, and that shows you what I know, missing the race last week and not being able to recognize that Codian won. But you have to think about, Codian comes into this race, doesn't really mean a whole lot. Maybe he was just back there in the pack, and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna just try and maybe put a little bit more tape on this, or maybe try to experiment with something on the setup, because if you lose something, you don't have anything to lose, and maybe it just went amiss because there was not enough contact there to really, justify something blowing up. So unless something just went bad in the engine or Codian just wanted to experiment a little bit, obviously something there happened mechanically, not because of any damage because of contact with Spadafora there.
No, but Harry is out of the race behind the wall, but good for him. He did win last week. And Blake, we'll give you a pass on missing last week. I thought we were going to miss you here tonight, too. Glad you're able to get into it here this evening. But, yeah, I'll tell you what, but you got a good excuse. You've got basketball season down there at Gardner Webb going on, just starting. You guys off to a rough start. And then I look on your schedule, and I see the Poison Blue here in a couple of days. I know that's for me, I'd be excited. For you on the other end of that, I don't know. you were talking off air. 0-2 start for Gardner Webb, a team that was coming in veteran, looking forward to maybe another berth to a tournament. How do you feel seeing one of those big programs on your schedule this early?
Yeah, I mean, being with the team and traveling with them and being able to go to games like that, you're always pumped up. You get to play in front of a big crowd, bright lights, get all the attention you would normally get from playing a Power 5 school, but then you step out on the court and realize, oh crap, these guys are 5 inches taller than all of our guys, and looking to go to the NBA and all that. So I don't know. Ask me what the line is on that game. I'm looking on my ESPN app and I cannot find a line for the game. So maybe we're just gonna have to judge that and hope that we can find a victory, even if it is in Vegas.
The line don't matter, and I'll tell you why. Do you look down the Gardner Webb roster and you see anybody out there through a one and done going pro after this year?
No. But
no. I'm rooting for you then.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
I'm rooting against my team.
Yeah, there you go. Everybody can be a Wofford every now and then, right?
That's exactly right. And I can't stand that one and done. Don't get me started. That's why Todd and I have been talking. There's going to be some kind of weird alternative programming coming out of Full Velocity here really soon, because it's going to get me out of the sim racing world a little bit and let us rant about other things like a dumb one and done rule, ruining my favorite thing of college basketball. Can't even watch it anymore. It's really just destroyed me as far as getting around a team. I'm going to watch Gardner Webb every week. I'll get into that. I can root for guys who are at least going to be there for 4 years, getting an education and putting their money out there, putting their heart on the line every night. But we'll talk about it another day. We'll go racing with the heart of a line as we always do, and that's why I bring guys like Bobby along for the ride tonight, because we need to have that little guy champion here with us. Caleb Lingo leads them. We go back Green Flag Racing to Tournament 1 and 2, and now we look up, in the top 5. You got Herman Reach there. Jeff Fugate is 9th. Is Herman yet looking in that mirror, Bobby, looking where that 9 car is in the relative there where the standings are?
I think at this point, everybody's looking out the front window. I mean, it's 24 to go. It's,
no mirror driving?
Flag.
No mirror driving, no caring about the points. Everything is going forward. Maybe that's why I don't win championships, Blake. Did he just teach me something?
I don't know, Phil, because I know if I was Fugate, I would definitely be paying attention to everything. If I'm Herman Reese and I have teammates, I'd be asking them to, hey, where's that guy running right now? Is he still fast? Does Keith McLean still have, as much speed as he had earlier in the race? I'm the exact opposite. Some people, they're able to tune it all out and just go forward and drive because that's all they can do. Me, I wish I was like that. I just like too much information.
Too much information, never a bad thing, I guess, unless you're a guy like me who goes into overloads and does 17 reads on a given night of the week on our show. But hey, we'll leave that for another day, another broadcast, even another simulator out there. But we 78 laps in. Caleb Lingo leads. Ricky Johnson, Keelan Jules, Trevor Reese, Jason San Diego. That is our top five. And that big gap we saw early, we saw the cars really get strung out by about 6 or 8 seconds. Well, it's starting to happen, but not at that rate I thought we would, because we still got a top 15 within 4 seconds of each other. Can somebody say, I look back here and I see the likes of, say, Danny Hardy back here about 14th, or guys like Keith McLean trying to run their way back to the front, 3.5 seconds back. Is it impossible, Blake, with 20 laps to go? Can they run that 3 seconds down from here, or is the bed just kind of made and we needing more yellows?
I think for those guys, they're going to need to rely on a late caution and maybe staying out for something really to happen, because there's just too much speed up here in the top of this field. You look 12th on back, there's just no way in 20 laps that they can muster up saving enough tires or just bursting out enough speed to go run those guys down. That's just the way it is here at Phoenix. You see a wide gap in the field because of, just when you hit that setup right, it just makes a bigger difference here than it would at, a cookie cutter mile and a half. But we see Keith McLean, I'm looking at him right now, just made a pass for 10th on Randy Smith, another one of those guys that needs a win to get in, but unfortunately for that Hard Rock Cafe Pontiac, just looks like he doesn't have enough tonight. But Keith McLean trying to do all he can with now 19 laps to go to try and just muster up finish here.
Sure is. And you talk about, guys like Randy Smith, you don't want to, poo-poo on the year he's had. You've got all the way to the 35th race of the year. You're right there. You're in that final 8. Only 4. And you look at this group top to bottom at Hobo. This group, every week, there's probably legitimately 25 or 30 cars on a given week go out there and win one of these things. So to even be mentioned in that breath, Bobby, in the final 8 in a league like this, a series like this, you got to have a little bit of tremendous, that feeling of pride and accomplishment. If you're somebody like that 10 car, you've come this far, you just got to be happy you got this far.
Oh, I would agree with that, Phil. I mean, we got a 36 race schedule on the season, and to be up near the front at the end of the race, it's definitely a major accomplishment.
It sure is. You got to race all year to get to the playoffs. Some guys, like, I'm not going to mention names, Phil, but race all year and don't even make the playoffs. So we'll talk about that. But we talked about needing that late race yellow to maybe shake the works up. And Blake, well, there it is. 84 laps in, the yellow flag back on the racetrack, and more issues arise around the next quarter. We slow it back down. What do we find out there to put this one under yellow flag?
Well, Phil, I believe we're going to have to get the selfie stick out once again.
Uh-oh.
It was Eddie Rayleigh, that Army Chevrolet that has seen a lot of turmoil here tonight. Looks like he just got a little squirrely, kicked out the back end, and there was just no saving it after that. So going to have to get the selfie stick out in 112. He got around, and unfortunately not the night that Rayleigh wanted to have.
All right, well, Eddie's out there, the U.S. Army car. It's Jack's birthday. Eddie and Jack going to take the selfie together with that one. Eddie and Jack, hey! Happy birthday, Jack. Eddie wants the selfie, does it over to turn number 1 and 2, puts us back under yellow. 85 laps in. There is a lot left to play out here in 15 circuits.
Oh, no.
Oh, we got more trouble.
Not more trouble, but it's trouble for the 113 who elected to come down pit road, was baited by a couple of drivers behind him, and not one person in the top 10 came down and pitted with them. So a big effing chat for Caleb Lingle, who came down pit road. He entered first, and he's going to exit well out of contention to try and get a win for this thing. So with that move, he hands the lead over to Ricky Johnson.
Wow. I've been doing this for years. I've been watching racing my whole life. There's not many times where you try to pull the fake and you actually go all the way, commit to it, and nobody follows you, or vice versa. Ever been in that situation? But in all the years I've been doing this, I've never seen that happen. Fail.
I've seen it happen plenty of times, Phil. You get a couple of guys together and think, hey, maybe we'll just try to fake pit him in. And obviously Lingle thinks that the tires matter enough to warrant it. And obviously, if you're the leader, you understand that there's going to be guys that stay out, but you don't think that every single driver will stay out. You know, somebody from 5th or 6th or 7th will think, ooh, those guys in front of me are staying out. Let me go get 4 fresh tires to see if I can't run them down. But it's just that shocking when not one person thinks that. And unfortunately for Lingle, he entered first on pit road. He's going to exit 17th, and there's just not enough time for him to make that all up without, some major chaos ensuing here in the last couple of laps.
I'll tell you what, I can hear Caleb's cockpit singing right now, and I've done it. It feels like every time I go to like a super speedway. The I'm So Lonely song, I feel bad for Caleb, Bobby. I've never really feel bad for fast guys when they have something like that happen, because let's face it, I'm not quick, but I feel bad for Caleb. He got left all by himself in this world now where we pacify everybody and everybody participates. That guy got left by himself. It may be damaging to not only his hopes to win, but hopefully his mind's not fragile enough to be able to handle that. That's rough.
Unfortunately for Caleb, he was kind of in a no-win situation there because, if he comes into pits like he did, everybody's going to stay out, but yet if he's the one that making the decision to stay out, everybody behind him is going to come down pit road and get those 4 fresh tires.
Well, they certainly did. This turns the lead over to Ricky Johnson in the 193. Kilojoules. Herman Reese now up to 3rd. Jason San Diego Maverick in the number 23. That's a guy who's really been an unsung hero here this season at Hobo. That number 23 car raced his way into this playoff format. Didn't make the round of 8. But I'll tell you what. For a guy like a 23 who doesn't get enough love over here, I'm really impressed at John Deere Chevrolet, Blake. Every week, that 23 car always finds himself in the mix at the end. That's really all you ever hope to be, is in the mix. And that 23 car's been up there more times than not these last 10 weeks.
Well, there's just certain guys that know how to manage their race car through a race and show up when the time matters. Obviously, Maverick, no stranger to that. We've seen him make some strategy gambles before, but I think any way he can do it, Phil, he always seems to be in the mix at the end of these things.
Absolutely. That's sometimes a show's skill right there. Who's going to have skill to put their car in victory lane? We are 12 laps away from finding out as we go back green flag racing. On lap number 88, Ricky Johnson going to lead the field off turn number 2, and that is a guy right there, Blake, that 193. Always a lot of speed in that race car. You give Ricky a lead late in one of these races, and usually a guy who's not going to screw up. That may have been the money move. The mistake that Caleb made that may put Ricky's car to victory lane this evening.
It certainly might do that, but we have a lot of drama to be decided. Caleb Lingle doesn't have a win. He needs to make up all the positions he can because he's the leader in on points. He's in a good spot, but you just never know. And obviously with Herman Reese up here in the mix, if you're Fugate, you don't want that 73 Cadillac going to victory lane. It would eliminate you from the playoffs, and you wouldn't get that chance to go to Miami. But right now, it looks like Ricky Johnson. Where is that Voiles trucking Ford? Come to life, race the fenders on that thing. He's definitely booking it here with 11 to go.
He certainly is. He'll lead the field down in turn number 3 and bowl those things out and let it ride proud. He leads Kilojoules over to turn number 3, and that's another cat right there. KJ has been, I can't say quiet. He's been consistent all night, been involved in a couple little things. 29 car, he said last week, he goes, I love Phoenix. I'm going out there to win Phoenix next week, and I look up there, and, well, he's chasing the 193. Yes, he's in the playoffs, but when you call your shot, don't you have to deliver on it?
I think you do, but obviously nothing really to fight for. Don't want to kind of shake things up, and maybe you got to think about it. You go shake things up here and allow Herman Reese to win. Maybe you don't want to see Herman at Homestead. We know how capable Herman is of winning here at Hobo. He's been doing it for years on end. So if you're KJ, you're definitely going to go after this win, but how much are you managing your tires right now? How much do you think Ricky Johnson's running them off? But we'll have to answer that later. One car up in the wall in 1 and 2, and it's Fugate. Oh, man, major implications here, and he gets tagged by Keith McLean running for the 8th and 9th spot. McLean slid up the racetrack after locking up the right front. He gets into that 9 car, and, man, major implications here. 2 playoff drivers going all out on it. And Keith McLean tags Fugate, and McLean's actually going to pull it behind the wall. He is done with this thing.
Certainly is, and I'm hoping not done as the championship hopes of one Mr. Jeff Fugate, because that car turned around, was up in the top 10, came in tonight fourth in the standings, was on that cut line, 27 points ahead of Herman Reese, was looking poised to get a top 10 run, and late he gets turned around. If I am Jeff Fugate right now, Bobby, I am madder than, I guess you could say, madder than a midget with a yo-yo, maybe? Can we go there?
I don't know if we can go there, Phil, but I think you just did anyways. But I'm agreeing with you. I'm in the car punching the steering wheel myself going, what the hell just happened?
It's a different shade of green, but even green beat the New York Giants. Is that right? We have that in common, Bobby. Both our teams lost to the Jets. It's pretty sad, isn't it?
That's very sad when you lose to the Jets.
I mean, even I'm a Bucks fan. I don't have a lot to brag about, but I can at least brag that we haven't lost to the Jets this year.
Oh, yeah, let's say. Jack, I'm not touching that one. I'll tell you what. You want to talk about three guys in misery right now? Me being a Cowboys fan, Bobby being a Giants fan, Blake being a Bucks fan. Can we buy a ring? Can we buy some luck? You know, if we get Saquon Barkley, you know, Bobby, if we want to give him a 100-yard game this week, we need to hand him the ball 1,300 times. Can we? You lost to the Jets. I know we did, and that's embarrassing enough. But at least we had guys produce. Your number one pick there, Saquon Barkley, 1 yard on 13 carries. You got to give me better than that.
I wish I had better for you this year, Phil, but I don't think that's going to happen.
And that's what happens when you put your faith in a quarterback from a basketball school. It usually doesn't work out. Ask the Bears. That's not working good for them either. But we'll leave that for another day, another time, and because we'll go racing out here before we get off on another tangent and people start to shut off the channel and ditch viewers. We make people mad. We don't like to make people angry here, do we? Oh, sometimes, but Jack says yes. Okay, so maybe we step in that territory a little bit too much, but hey, this race has changed upside down now. Jeff Fugate on pit road. 9-car going to restart 21st. Herman reached at 73, finds himself in third. I didn't think it would go as upside down. I thought we were really going to go out to the last lap. I hate it for the 9-car, Blake. We see that bright green car always in the mix all the time. To get spun around late, I feel my heart breaks for a guy like Jeff because he always feels like that guy. He's always fast, but he feels like that second tier kind of. Where am I going with this? Say like the Ford camp. So you got the Penske cars and you got the Stewart cars. I feel like that's a Stewart car versus the Penske camp. Is that a good analogy?
I think so, Phil, but I think the one thing that speaks to Fugate is he gets the most out of his cars every time he comes here to the racetrack. He's not going to try to do too much and let that bite him from behind. He's going to do everything he has with what he brings to the racetrack, and obviously was running in the 8th position when he got tagged there, in a good position to advance. And obviously you just feel bad for a guy that, comes out here, races clean, and just an unfortunate bystander. Circumstances didn't work out, not much he could control there. So just really unfortunate for a guy that we've seen, put on some stellar performances this season, even if it hasn't ended in victory lane.
You got that right. I'll tell you what, I just kind of saw a little bit of chatter going back and forth between Jeff and Keith McLean, and Keith feels sick that, he got into the back of a 9-car, maybe have ruined his race for a championship, and that's two guys right there, race really hard. You'd like to see the respect and apology there, but man, it doesn't take the sting off a 9-car, that's for sure. As we get ready to go back to racing, 96 laps of 100 on the board, so you got to think probably the final restart we're going to see all night long. And now let's talk about the race to the win here. Ricky Johnson, you look in the mirror, you see with 29 looming ominous. We know KJ is an assassin of that car. Ricky is as cool as it comes, Blake. As we go back to green, can Ricky hold off the enigma there in that 29 car? There's a lot to play out over the next 3 miles.
There certainly is. KJ may have saved a little bit of tires on that last run. We'll see what these guys do. Remember, a caution flag, they'll race back, and that'll end the race. So next flag will end it as long as we can get a caution. Obviously, if we stay green, we'll race this out the full distance of 100 laps. Right now, major 2-car breakaway. KJ and Ricky Johnson holding nothing back, and man, they are taking off from this field.
They really are. They've driven away to about a full second over third place. Herman Reese, Jason San Diego's back there. You got Maverick in the number 23. Great run, looking to capitalize on the top 5 run as we put 98 laps on the board. 2 car lengths difference. Ricky Johnson, Keila Jules. They work through the kink. Advantage 93 car over to turn 3.
Fell out, Phil. Take it away.
Uh-oh, Blake's connection goes sour again. I know he's been fighting with it all night long as we're into 1. For what it looks like here, we're going to get white flag next time by. One more trip around this beautiful 1 mile Phoenix International Raceway. The leaders into turn number 3, 93 and 29. Who is going to take the trophy out here in Victory Lane? Who is going to be that final 4 in Homestead? We're going to be 1 mile away from doing so off of turn number 4. White flag in the air. One more trip around for that number 193, the Voiles Trucking Ford. Ricky Johnson looking to pick up the W here tonight in Phoenix as the yellow flag has come out. Definitely racing back to the flag now as we have issues over at the exit of turn number 3 and 4 as we work through the final time through the tunnel. Checkered flag going up in the air. And it looks like Ricky Johnson, he's going to pick up the win tonight here in Phoenix. KJ will finish up 2.
Back.
3rd for Herman Reese, Jason San Diego in 4th. And Maverick, the number 23, gets a solid top 5 run. Caleb Lingo Blake, fresh tires. That 113 rally all the way back from about 16th. A 6th place run. 5 more laps. That fake out job. Caleb may have been laughing, but it's Ricky Johnson who takes down that big prize tonight here in Phoenix.
Well, a stellar job by Ricky Johnson. Obviously worked the strategy and had a race car that was capable of holding off the best over here at Hobo. He takes down the win, holding off KJ, who we know has been stellar all season long. Congratulations to him. It was in turns 1 and 2 there on that last lap. It was Ron Simpson, as well as, I believe, Danny Rubino. I can't really see, my replay was kind of cutting out as I was getting back into the server, but those are the 2 cars that I can at least see around here that, kind of spun it here on the last lap. But nevertheless, you were just mentioning, Phil, fantastic job by Caleb Lingle, who was able to get all the way back up to 6th place and obviously get a good point stay out of it. I think that pretty much locks him into Homestead. And obviously with the point situation with Fugate and Herman Reese, I'd be surprised to hear that Reese wouldn't advance and contend for a championship next week.
I think you're right, and I guess we will talk to the driver of that 73 car. And I think Caleb Lingo was good on points. He'll definitely get his way in. He'll join Harry Codian and KJ Kiljules, the final 4 in Homestead. We're going to move over to the post-race show presented by BladeNo.com. We'll get the top 3 screened out. We'll talk to all 3 of them here live next on your source for esports racing post-race show coming right at you. All right, post-race show presented by BladeNo.com, Hobo Racing League, Voiles Trucking Cup Series conclusion here in Phoenix. The final race before the Raceful Championship at Homestead goes to Ricky Johnson. I'll run down to Victory Lane and grab him, but I'll throw this to my broadcast colleague, Mr. Blake Michaelis. I think first he's going to talk to the driver of the caddy, the number 73. Herman Reese gets third here tonight, Blake, and he's going to be ecstatic because I believe by the points he's going to be racing in Homestead next week as part of the Final Four.
I believe so. We haven't heard the final verdict yet, but nevertheless, a guy that is very confident in the drive that he had tonight. He brings it home third, and Herman, I'll ask you, it just seemed like that was an up-and-down night with all the cautions. You never knew when it was going to fall in your favor. Kind of talk about this night, because it seemed like you did a lot of work to move up to the front of this field.
Yeah, I took a chance early on. I qualified didn't go the way we wanted, and I was racing one guy tonight that I knew of. There was a couple guys that could still win. Keith was one of them. He was super fast, but I had to kind of do the opposite of the 9 car. I stayed out and led a lap, and I hate what happened to him there at the end because I think we were within 2 points there when that caution he was involved with. I was a little nervous going to the back, but I knew I had a decent car, and I had to play some strategy to get right back up there, and it kind of fell in my lap a little bit. I didn't expect to be in third after practice tonight. These guys were really fast, and I told you a couple weeks ago, the competition has just stepped it up in here.
It certainly has. We've seen that all season long, as we've just had a whole host of guys who have made their way to victory lane over the last several weeks. But although we won't call it official yet, we'll say that, odds are really good that you'll be competing for a championship next week. Kind of talk about what you think you have in the bank, and, do you think you have a car at Homestead that is capable of running up front and winning this thing? We know how tough the competition's been. Do you think you have something that'll beat everyone out?
Oh, absolutely. Last year I had the race won if it wasn't for the 13 wrecking us off 4 coming to the checker. Out of his frustration, I guess. Still waiting for my apology, Harry. But we've won that race before, and that's my home track. I mean, that's where I'm from, so I plan on putting all efforts in. And some faster guys this year here, and luck's got to be on your side to win. I don't have to win a race. I just got to beat the other 3 guys.
That's exactly right, and I'll throw the mic to you one more time. Hopefully we get to talk to you next week at Homestead, Miami, but before we get done and before we let you go ahead and start preparing for that winner-take-all race next week between the other 3 guys yet to be named, we'll go ahead and throw the mic to you in that Cadillac.
Thanks. Thank Hobo Racing, Steve Bino once again coming to the conclusion of another great season, and the guys. And you guys for putting putting on the show for us, and for Voiles Trucking and all the sponsors that have brought you on board here at the back half of the year, so we could pass on to the fans and let them see what we do on Tuesday nights. So appreciate everything, guys, and take care. We'll see you next week, Victory Lane.
All right, let's make it a date. That's Herman Reese, obviously confident that he thinks he can go to Homestead, Miami next week and try to take home a championship here at Hobo Racing League. So one confident guy, but here's somebody who will also be very confident in just how fast he's run over this last portion of the season. He brings it home second tonight, but it wasn't for a lack of speed. That's KJ Kilojoules. And KJ, it looked like just a lot of different strategy playing there, a lot of different wrecks. It's just never quite going to guess it absolutely perfectly, but nevertheless, you still have to be proud of that speed you had in that Chevrolet tonight.
Yeah, the car was really fast. I don't know what happened with that car pitting, but I didn't see anything. All I seen was Keith and him spinning in front of me, and I got a little bit of damage there. I think that hurt the car a little bit. It was just a little too tight after that. I was burning the right front off of it, but I wasn't really racing for anything, so I'll take a second.
I was about to say, what kind of approach did you have coming into tonight? Obviously, this race in the grand scheme of things doesn't mean a whole lot. Are you experimenting maybe a little bit? Trying something that you normally wouldn't if you were racing in a points type of situation?
I took the normal setup I've ran. The setup I normally run here is pretty good, but I wasn't really racing or anything, so I kind of made some tweaks to it just to try something. It didn't really work like I wanted it to, so I'll probably go back to the base. But I was going to try something different. I wasn't really racing for anything, so I figured if I wrecked it, I wrecked it. I just didn't want to wreck my teammates or wreck somebody in the chase.
Yeah, I definitely know that feeling all too well. But KJ, we'll hand you the mic one more time. Obviously, looking forward to what you guys are capable of doing next week at Homestead. But, give one final shout out before we'll let you kind of go ahead and get ready for next week.
Yeah, I'm ready for next week. I got a pretty good setup. I've been kind of tweaking on some stuff. Want to say congrats to my teammate Rick for winning that race. Also want to give a congrats. I think Herman made it, and Caleb for making the Final Four right there with me and Harry. Also want to give you guys in the booth a shout out for broadcasting the race. I was kind of listening to it again. It was a good race after we got those early cautions out of the way. Want to give a thank you to the admins at Hobo, Steve Rubino, for letting me race here, putting the race on. I want to give a shout out to my wife. She was watching again. I kind of didn't do what I normally do when she's in here, so I kind of disappointed her a little bit, but I'll make it for it next week.
There you go, making sure you take care of what's important. But again, we'll look forward to talking to you next week and watching you race, and hopefully it turns out well for the driver in that 029. But you know what, Phil? It's all about tonight, this race tonight, and obviously there's a driver in BladeNote.com victory lane. He doesn't care about the playoffs. He just cares that he brought it home and got that checkered flag. That's Ricky Johnson, the driver of the 193 Voiles Trucking Ford.
Yeah, I sure down here for the second time this year. The number 193 pulls himself into victory lane. Ricky, congratulations, man. A great job. First, I got to ask, when you saw the C's part, when Caleb made that dive to pit road, and you didn't follow him, and nobody followed him, did you get that grin ear to ear knowing the race may have just fallen into my lap?
Yes, I did, but at the same time, I knew the race wasn't over because I always got KJ there right on my tail. He's always done great at this track, and I just felt like that I wasn't going to have the set of the beat tonight. It felt decent, but I felt like I was just missing something, and I was having a hard time with it, so luck kind of played its part there.
It's sometimes better to be lucky than good, but the race car had a lot of speed tonight. The racetrack was in really good shape. Car was awesome. You had all these guys around. You know, we've talked about the championship guys to death. You know, with KJ and Caleb and Herman and even Jordan up there mixing up with you guys. Really, a lot of fast cars. Racing up front was as clean as a whistle as always is. This track is not easy to get around. You guys make this look so easy. How much of a sweat are you breaking out there holding these guys behind you?
Quite a bit. It's definitely not easy. You know, it's just super easy to miss turn 1 and 2, and 3 and 4 ain't much easier itself when you got a car right behind you, and their last 20-25 laps, restart on old tires, and being out front for the first time all night, my car kind of felt a little bit different and looser as it usually does out front, and I had to kind of play around with that, and I was just hanging on for dear life, just trying to get it done.
I look at this beautifully prepared number 193, the Voiles Trucking Ford machine. You got to feel a tremendous just have a beaming of pride to put that car, that sponsor, Victory Lane. Brian and Kathy do so much for us. All of us here in Sim Racing, not only here at Hobo, but, Bomb Squad Racing, which you're going to see here Saturday night for here at the Full Velocity Racing Network. How much pride do you take flying those colors and putting that family in Victory Lane? They don't get more classy than Brian and Kathy do.
They do not, quite a lot. Kathy and Brian, they are some heck of people, man. I can't thank them enough for everything they've done and supported me with, and there's just nothing better.
All right, well, then now my turn to give you the microphone once again. So I know you got a lot of not only the Voiles family making these cars go fast, but this PPR2 team you guys got behind you fast each and every week. You get to be the lucky one for the second time this year's Victory Lane. Let me give you the microphone. We don't do this in the winner's circle. There ain't enough of you, bud. This has to feel good.
Yes. First off, I'd like to thank Jessica for everything she does and being there to plug in KJ's keyboard when it came unplugged, so he wasn't stuck in F2 earlier. So, thank you for that and everything else. And to the PPR2 guys, of course, those guys have done a lot, helped me, supported me, and been great teammates. And it's been a privilege to learn some things with setups through them and try to keep up and benchmark myself to them and for everything they do. And of course, Brian and Kathy, I already thank them, and anyone else that has supported me through everything I've been through lately. I really appreciate it.
I'll tell you what, slam the fenders down in this race car. Do what you got to do, buddy. This thing is Victory Lane looking good. Ricky Johnson, tonight's big winner tonight here in Phoenix, man. This one feels good. And for the guy who's been so close so many times, Blake, Ricky's, he's won this season, but you feel good. You come so close so often, even around all these guys running for a championship. It's cool to see a different face every once in a while at Victory Lane, and Ricky's one of the best of them. Great to see him down here celebrating this week.
No doubt about it. 29 starts and now 2 wins for Ricky. I remember we were calling his race back at Auto Club that he ended up visiting BladeNode.com Victory Lane for the first time this season, but it hasn't been a lack of speed. Obviously, 11 top 5s and 28 starts, so Ricky definitely bringing a lot of speed to the racetrack, just finally starting to kind of fall his way. Not sure if he had quite the fastest car tonight, but obviously was running up in the top 5, and when you do that, good things are bound to happen, and obviously, we're happy to see up here when good things happen to good people, and Ricky Johnson, no exception to that for sure.
Absolutely right. Great people there. Good people here also in the booth tonight. Glad Blake joined us and our buddy Bobby Farrell for joining us. I guess just taking what Ricky said there, Bobby, I got to thank Autumn for plugging in your computer tonight. So letting you come down here and play because for a little while we didn't think you were going to make it.
Well, actually, tonight it was all me, but I appreciate that. And I definitely appreciate you and Blake having me and Jack having me tonight. And also, we can't forget happy birthday, Jack, once again.
Awesome. Great having these guys aboard. It's an awesome team. A lot of fun to do with these guys. For Bobby, for Blake, for Jack, the birthday boy. For all you out there watching, thank you so much for our great sponsors here at the Full Velocity Racing Network. For Hannibal Record Service, iRaceTheGuyFlag.com, Voiles Trucking, CCM Custom Designs and Engraving, Blado.com, the South Texas Speedway, Milner Media Production and Design, TDR Racing League, Hard Motorsports, Trash Panda Graphics, and JP Designs. Phil Lacasse here signing off. Have a great night, everybody, but we come back to you live. Don't do it shy. 24 hours from now, DWRL, Wednesday Night Street Fights. Todd and the gang will be there 9 p.m. Hope you'll be there, too, on your source for esports racing. Good night, everybody. Stay warm wherever you are.